That's about all Tuesdays.
Now, see,
I didn't tell you, we got all the reasons.
we got almost everywhere.
This is the third set. I am just so frustrated. So tired. It's just like, I
thought that's what you said.
Now they want to come over.
They're all behind, and now they want to come rushing in.
Yeah, cheeses are good. Grapes are even better.
Fruit.
Yeah.
Well, thought we were going to start without you.
No, I've been out in the hall conferring.
Okay, he's
Long
conferring.
time no see.
Ain't that true? Close.
Super sweet. I couldn't, as much as I love sugar, I couldn't even. So sweet.
Just open session. We'll add that in your business. Because it didn't get added, did it?
Not under new business.
All right, we'll add it somewhere. Call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock and welcome everybody here with us tonight. And as we begin, I'm going to ask Mr. Kenneth to lead us in a word of prayer.
Most gracious and Lord Heavenly Father, we thank you for your darling son that sacrificed and gave his life for us all, oh God. Father, we pray that as we go about this business that you made us stewards over, God, that we do it in an honest and a pleasing way for you, oh God. We pray, God, that everything that we do and say is done with decency and order, oh God. Father, we ask that you continue to shine upon us your loving kindness and your tender mercy, Father, as we go about our business. We pray for our administration. We pray for our teachers, our staff. We pray for the students and the parents as well, God. We pray that everything is being done that can educate these children and give them a chance for a bright future, God. Continue to lead us and guide us in the way you would have us go. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, sir. I entertain a motion to approve the agenda. We have one item to add.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion second. The item that we need to add is a farm lease. And we can just do that in open session under new business, and we'll add it as an item B or an item F or wherever. We'll cover it under new business, or maybe as an item I, before we get into the upcoming events. All right, all those in favor of the agenda as amended signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Have any announcements or recognitions?
No, sir, we'll give you updates on everything that's fixing to come up as we go through in the board packet. It's a very busy time of the year, as y'all well know. Playoffs are getting ready to start, so we'll be giving you more updates as we go along.
Okay. Moving to the minutes, entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the call meeting, the work session of March the 7th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All those in favor of the minutes of March 7th signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of March the 8th.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion second, any discussion? All those in favor of the minutes of March 8th signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Do we have anybody signed up to speak? Okay, first we have Ricky Jefferson, we have Quitasa Trotter, and we have Jim Casper. We'll go in that order. Let me remind each of you that each of you will have 5 minutes to speak. I will give you a 2-minute and a 1-minute before your time is up. And Ricky Jefferson.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Harlan, and the Chairman of the Board, Mr. Smith, and to the rest of the Board of Education. My name is Ricky Jefferson. Some of you know me, some of you may not know me. I'm a 1974 graduate of Fisher High School. I was in the Armed Infantry from 76 to 82, and then switched over to Navy Intelligence from 82 until 93. But during my high school years, I was fortunate enough to achieve some historical, I'll repeat that again, historical achievements that as of this day has never been matched throughout the 8th district. And I have in front of me a certificate of appreciations, a distinguished service award, amen, that at that time when Mr. Thompson presented to me those historical municipal achievements had not been matched. Here it is 50 years later. It stands the same, that those historical achievements have not been matched by anyone. I also received a proclamation from Madam Massey back in 2018, I believe it was. And what I would like to present to the board, just like I did with the City Council and the Mayor, that these achievements shine throughout my community so that young people will be able to strive for excellence. That's what it is that the school would like for us to do. Strive for excellence, and if anything that they have to achieve, there will not be a stumbling block. And I'm asking the Board of Education to do the same thing. That these achievements shine throughout the garden of education so that future doctors, lawyers, educators, whatever the case they may be, that they will pursue that. And with the new high school is built, that somewhere the bare minimum, these accomplishments will be acknowledged. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Jefferson.
Okay. Ms. Trotter?
How's everybody doing?
All right.
Oh, I just wanted to, I had a parent to reach out to me, and I just wanted to come and speak on my behalf and her behalf as well, about the unfair disciplinary procedures that are going. Certain students are getting certain disciplinary sanctions, and some are not getting the same for the same offenses. The first one, in December, my son is currently facing 3 federal charges at that time as an 11-year-old. 3 federal charges of terroristic threats for just something he said. The same day that my son was taken to the juvenile holding cell, a little girl assaulted my seventh grader, slapped her across the back of the head for backing into her desk. Now this student that slapped her, assaulted her, had prior disciplinary records from the previous year in 6th grade for fighting. My daughter was a little girl, the little girl was a different race than my son. This little girl was allowed to stay in the classroom for the rest of the day. She had a 6-period class with my daughter. And my daughter had to face the person that assaulted her in 6th period. She was then allowed to do her 3 days of ISS the next day.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, are we gonna be allowed to talk about children?
We're not talking about any names.
Not by any names? Okay.
In February, my daughter was shot with an orbit gun at track practice. That little girl that shot her and another student was given 2 to 3 days of ISS for a weapon. This was a girl. The same, somewhat similar, the same incident happened on the bus with a group of boys, same race as me. The whole group of boys had an orbit gun. From my understanding of that parent, what she told me is that the bus driver was shot with the orbit gun. Those boys, that group of boys, only one shot, but the whole group of boys, from what the parent told me, was suspended for the remainder of the school year and put in alternative school. So we went from the incident that happened in December where my son verbally said something and got 3 federal charges. I had to go press charges on the little girl that assaulted my daughter. The school did nothing. I have an issue with that. The little girl that shot my daughter during track practice was given ISS. And those boys on the bus, one pulled the trigger, but all the boys that was back there in that group, from what the parents said, was given alternative school and then virtual. I have a problem with that. And I just wanted to come here today and speak on it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Casper?
I ain't got much to say, other than commend the board, the school facilities being built. It is fantastic. That's $40+ million well spent. It looks great. But I don't know how many of y'all are touring that school regularly. My poor wife can tell you, we've done it ad nauseum. I'm out there as much as Parrish is. Because I'm just that ticky about stuff. Especially when you're spending that kind of money. I hope the board is, that's my point. Is I want y'all to be real aware of the money you spend and go out there and they wouldn't any construction company, I mean, my wife says that about me and my children too. They wouldn't, nobody want me to be criticizing because it's gonna always not come up to my level. So I want y'all to go out there and look for yourself at items that may or may not be up to where y'all want. And I know Sean and I talked about this, and a lot of it sometimes, and I ain't just talking about in the building, I'm talking about on the whole campus. Sean and I have talked about this. Just ride in the road where the buses are gonna go, and ride up there and use any common sense that you ever have if you lived on a road that had shoulders on it. And tell me what you think's gonna happen to the shoulders of those roads coming down that hill that they've already fixed about 3 times to keep them where, when somebody goes out there, they don't see that mess. And they put curb and gutter at the bottom of that hill, but not up the road. And I talked to Sean about it, and he's talking money. And let me tell you something. Money ain't the most important thing in the world, as much money as I see us spending when it comes to keeping something from 10 years from now being a disaster. I mean, you would never build that facility without curbing that road. And I'm not just talking about on the outside either, I'm talking about on the inside. Y'all just need to look, make sure y'all going out there as much as I am and looking at what's going on and look at some things that if you were the person that would pay it, write your check for that you had the punch list, that you had to walk through there with Parrish Construction and say, I check off on that, I check off on that, I check off that. You take their punch list and you walk through there and see what you find is wrong. Because believe me, there's some really things that are wrong inside that building. It's not from design, not from nothing's been done by the superintendent or anything. It's just, I'd call it workmanship. I mean, there's spots in that school that I could have painted better, and I hate painting. I mean, there's some things need to be looked at. Sean and I talked about it before. There's some floor issues that need to be looked at on that concrete, because I one Saturday had the main man out there just happened, and he wanted to take me to him, and I brought it up to him, and I said, what about that right there? And he said, that's just what you deal with concrete. I said, well, what are we gonna do about it? Well, he don't have no answer. Ain't nothing you can do about it. That is not a good answer. There's something you can do about it. Parrish might not know what you can do about it, but there's somebody in this country can tell you what to do about that and not have all them cracks as bad as some of them are. Now, I think Sean's talked to them. They gonna work on some of them.
I've got a walkthrough actually tomorrow with the assistant to the architect that overlooks schools.
Because, I mean, the architect should not sign off on some of the stuff that I see out there. And I just want to make y'all aware of that. Sean's aware of it. And just, you know, but y'all need to look. Y'all need to look. It don't take nobody that's a great contractor to go out there and look at stuff and say, that's not how I want that in my house. And before we write the check, that's the only chance we get before we write the check. Because after we write the check, you're done. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Okay. Moving to system reports. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items listed as A1 through 5.
Motion.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion, paid bills list.
Mr. Chairman, paid bills for Fund 100 is showing at $2,017,573.42. Fund 151, expenses are $125,539.74 for a total of expenses in March of $2,143,133.16.
Any questions? All right, General fund fiscal year to date report.
Mr. Chairman, general fund balance is showing at $6,435,573.42.
Okay. East Plus report.
East Plus is $4,500 above our monthly average, coming in at $230,007.09.
And I see we've made a bond payment.
Yes, sir.
That is annual.
That is the largest up front, 6 months.
And we still got money in the bank.
Yes, sir.
Facilities report.
Well, Mr. Newell could not be with us tonight, but they are extremely, extremely busy. Right now, what I can tell you is that with the renovation projects coming up, we're already getting ready to start bidding for air conditioners for those schools for replacement, and they're going to put them out here very shortly. Getting parts and getting full air conditioners at this time is over almost a year of a process to get. So what they're able to do on hand is absolutely outstanding. The renovations that we will be performing this summer and next summer will conducively help them be able to maintain buildings in a much, much better way as we get all these things replaced. And then Mr. Newell's been heavily involved with the new high school and helping me with resources there and helping parish lining up things that are considerably similar in nature. And that's the whole goal, is we're trying to make everything simultaneous throughout the entire school system. So air conditioners would be the same, the controllers would be the same, lighting would be the same. All these things that will help them be able to maintain the buildings as we move forward. As you heard, the new school is coming along very, very nicely. Yes, the economy has charged us with a few things that we're having trouble getting in a timely manner. For example, the generator that is on the back side of the school that's for emergency purposes. You can't open a school or occupy a school without that generator in place. 2 months ago, the generator people told us it would be July before we got it. It showed up 2 days ago. So, but we're looking for other items that we were hoping that would be in now that have not come in, but should be in by the end of the month.
The roll-up doors are in.
The roll-up doors, the actual frames are in. The glass roll-up doors we're waiting to get at the end of the month. If you look at the back side of the building, you'll see panels at the top. They didn't send enough, so now we're trying to get them. And there's a lot of work to be done prior to taking over the building. So we still have a lot to do, but it's progressing very nicely.
What's the scoop on the renovations we're doing at the middle school? What are we going to do?
So this summer, we only have time to paint interior and exterior of the entire building of both schools. Then next summer, you will have air conditioner replacement, you will have ceiling replacement in most areas, you will have LED lighting put in place, you will have the floors taken up and the concrete polished in the lunchrooms. The actual lunch serving areas will be all epoxy. The bathrooms will be epoxy floor. We're trying to do as much as we possibly can to restore the buildings.
Will be next summer?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
Painting something that we can do this year gives us opportunity to order and create a supply.
That's basically, you can't get the epoxy in at this time, or we'd be doing that at the same time we're painting. And it's all about supply and demand of what they can get in as far as having a bid versus being able to get in. I mean, we're right here at a point where it's gotten to a point as we looked at it and we tried to start bidding at the first of the year. You still couldn't get these items in, and that's why we had to set 2 different summer agendas based off of what we're able to accomplish.
But air conditioned lights, we can stockpile, we can.
The whole goal is they will come in, we will have them on site, just like I did with the new school. I had them order everything, so everything was on site. That's why we were able to progress as fast as we did. That will be the same thing we're looking for with the renovations.
We're painting the middle school and what school?
Primary school.
So with paint, is that gonna be an issue? I know.
We are, again, I'm trying to keep it as uniformed as we can, and I actually have Buckley and Associates interior designer coming in the next week to go through the schools to make sure what we want as far as paint color, not a multi-color scheme, but a single paint color, single accent color that's very classy and very nice. But
so how much from the initial planning to now, I know that price of paint has risen how much?
Right now, what the construction manager is telling me that it's on a 5-day basis.
Wow. Kind of like gas.
Yes.
And do you know, on the middle school, do you know what's wrong with do we have a lot of problems with the kitchen? Because it seems like every month, there's a lot of tickets for the kitchen.
The kitchen is in bad shape, and we have to do a lot of work to it as we get ready to do these renovations. Yes.
Is that structural bad shape or equipment or both?
I would say that it's a combination of age, maybe hard wear and tear, and then maybe taking care of certain items, and maintaining certain pieces that we'll have a much better plan for as we replace them. Yes.
But should we concentrate on that part too, since it's hard to get those kitchen equipment?
Yes. We just received a grant that they're replacing the oven and roaster. I believe it was a $70,000 grant to replace that just in the middle school. So.
CARES funds for some of that?
CARES funds, the way that we set it up was that painting, the first summer project is capital outlay. So it's what we earn from the state. We have to put our 12% with it, and then we earn what I explained to you all back when we were looking at facilities board, and Mr. Leonard McCoy came in and told us what we earned based off of the age of the schools. So that money is going to take care of painting the interior and exterior of the building, of both buildings. Then, based off of last night's report, CARES and a little bit of our money will go and replace the renovations for both schools for the second project.
How old is the middle school? The age of the middle school?
Does anybody know how old the middle school is?
1994.
26 years old.
I had grades when I was in that building, so.
Our school was built after we merged,
Okay.
1994.
Okay.
And then we built the primary.
And the safe.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's the first one. Okay. Any other questions on facilities? Athletic report. All those in favor of consent agenda items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. All right, transportation request presented to you there, or for information, none of those are out of state. We do have one. on down.
Yes.
I guess on new business, we'll cover that one there.
Yeah, it's not on the list.
It's
Under
down.
new business.
Under new business.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. College Career Board of Directors update for information. We've got a handout. Hal, you want to talk about it?
Good evening, everybody. I'm here today. I've been in tennis all the rest of the times. I've missed board meetings, so girls lost today, so they've got to go back tomorrow for the boys, but that's why I'm here today. I was hoping I wouldn't make it, but, as you can see, the report, the flex competition was, a big success. We opened it up in Irwin County. Chloe Paul, amazing little, senior, did a great job. She won. Callie Yates is one of our students. She got second. Damon Bell and Dr. Motley got third. I want to say a special thank you to Irwin EMC and Fisher Utilities for putting up the money. We gave away around $10,000 in cash and prizes, so that's pretty good, pretty impressive. Also, the Chamber of Commerce and Development Authority partnered with the high school to create the Flex program. We're working to make it a state competition. Without getting into too many details, we're working to make it a state competition, and there'll be more to come on that. The great thing about the Flex program is every high school student there has an opportunity. If they have an idea, if they have a business idea, and they get the right mentor, they have an opportunity to grow that idea and win some money. So I love the Flex program. It's catching on around the state, and like I said, we're taking those steps to make it bigger. Skills Day we had an automotive theme. Our partners at Shell Rapid Lube, Quality Muffler Repair, and Fisher Automotive Group. We split up into 3 groups, and we taught them about changing the tire, jump start the battery, checking fluid levels, and purchasing the first vehicle, and the importance of credit score. So that was time well spent on a DL day where the kids didn't have to come. I'm constantly told you get more kids if you do it on the day school's in. But I don't want the kids that want to get out of class. I want the kids that want to learn and want to be there.
How many students did you have?
We had 9.
Okay.
And you know, I really wanted more, but we had 9. So we keep doing it. It'll grow. We got our second job fair coming up. Remember we did one before school started for the community. We're doing another one on May 9th at the Mike Hills Gym. Partner with the Chamber of Commerce again to help us get those businesses lined up. 10 to 1. Half students. The first half will be for students only, and the second half will be to the public. So we're doing a community service, and hopefully our seniors that are planning to go to work will have an opportunity to talk to some people that might be hired. Signing day. We've done this the last 4 years. I believe it happened the year before I started. And when I got here, it was a great event. We just tried to make it better and better. We're doing that again this year. We basically are celebrating our seniors on their future, whether they're going to work, or going to college, or going in the military. And I'd like for all y'all to come. It's a cool day. I mean, and it only takes maybe an hour, but you get to see. You know, we do athletic signings all the time. We're all excited about EJ and all the guys going to play college football, but this gives some recognition to the ones that are going to work or going, you know, just to Wiregrass or other situations. The Community Connections Luncheon was very successful. The first one was Wednesday, March 23rd. We're a part of that. We heard from the city, county, hospital, and Ms. Clements and I spoke on behalf of our school system. We gave an update on everything happening in the school system. This is going to take the place of our education summit. I know y'all and it was actually planned for tonight, but the planning just was so hard this time of year to plan something like that, and we couldn't all get on the same page on the date. So Melissa at the Chamber invited us to be a part of the education summit. They're going to give us a podium at that, at the Community Connection Luncheons, where we're going to be able to talk about things that we're doing and things that we want to talk about. So we're going to use that time to do the same thing the summit did. We're just going to do it 4 times a year. Right now it's scheduled quarterly. And anybody that was there, it was very productive. It was a very productive lunch. It took about an hour and a half. So I encourage you to try to come to that. And I'll make sure you get an invitation to that. I'm going to skip down to the last thing, the FHS CCA state certification. It was supposed to be now, but I asked them to extend it. So let us get in our new high school, and then let's do the review. I don't really want to take them through. I don't want to be reviewed on our current facility. I want to be reviewed over there. So I think you all would agree. And they were very, Dr. Harrelson and I, talked to all the appropriate people to make that happen. And so that's going to be done once we get to the new high school and settle in. And then go back up to the DMC partnership. This is probably some of the most exciting news. The College and Career Academy is all about creating partnerships in the community, and this is one of the biggest things that we've done in the last 3 years since we have become a College and Career Academy. Dormey Medical Center has committed $200,000 over 4 years, and what they're going to do with that money is we're going to let them name the healthcare lab. So it's going to be the DMC Hurricane Healthcare Lab. We're going to put signage up, and so when you walk in there, you're going to see the DMC Dormey Hurricane Healthcare Lab. So for that $200,000, they're getting the rights to name it for 4 years. They're going to employ 2 seniors, and they're going to employ 2 juniors. And what we're going to do, they're going to come from the healthcare field pathway, and they're going to try to grow their own. They want to take them from juniors and take them right on out when they graduate, help pay for their schooling, whether it's Wiregrass or going on to ABAC, and then they're going to commit to them that you can come back to work for us when you graduate. And you can work for us the whole time you're going to school. So with the workforce shortage right now in healthcare, this is their solution, and their solution is to partner with us and to try to grow their own. They'll also be purchasing some equipment. They're also got another exciting thing that we added at the very end. They're doing ad campaigns, and they're going to use our audio video pathway kids to create their campaigns. Now, if you've seen anything that come out of that classroom, Michael Wise is very, very good at what he does. And so this is a situation where they would be paying thousands and thousands of dollars to an ad campaign company, where we're still going to charge them, and some of that $200,000 is going to come back to us. We're still going to charge them, but we're not going to charge them like if they had to buy, from a major ad corporation, and it'll be just the same quality. And that's my report. Do I have any questions?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any students that participated in Flex last time to participate this time?
Let's see. Some, yes, we did, but the finalists did not. Some of
I was just wondering if they...
The second place was Hallie and Landon. Landon competed this time.
Oh, okay.
He made it to the second round. Had a good idea. My son competed both times. He made it to the second round. Didn't make the finals. There was maybe one more that I'm not thinking of. But the third place team, the Kelly girls, they did not. Those are 2 of the busiest girls that I know, and they just said it was too much to do. It was too much, and we're addressing some of that. And without getting into a bunch of details, just know that we're going to try to give them some kind of school credit for what the time and effort they're putting in. There's more to it than that, but Destiny actually emceed the event, so and she did amazing. Yep. She was awesome. So, anything else?
This report will be uploaded.
Yeah, I'll email it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Matt, technology?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to cover a couple of the latest updates. We are from the technology department. This time of year, per usual, we are preparing for just for milestone testing. Most of that is focusing on the devices, make sure they're ready, getting a spare stock available for whatever may come up leading up to and at the time of testing. We're also working on some new things at the new high school, but that will also but it's a position to be extended out throughout the district. When that time for evaluation comes, one of those things is the card exit system. As you know, several of the entrances are going to be outfitted with a card reader, so the employee can swipe their badge, be let into the building. It's going to really help with security and key management and that kind of stuff. So with that system in place, we'll then be in a position to extend that if and when that time comes to the other campuses. So I was very pleased about this next bullet. I was able to enter into an agreement for emergency cybersecurity incident response, which is basically a true emergency scenario, something that's where we might be in a bind. We would have an availability to call on a service for immediate remediation. It's immediate in terms of immediate during normal business hours. I believe it's a 2-hour turnaround after hours. So it's something that really increases our cybersecurity posture and strengthens it. But if we never need it, we never pay for it. So I was very pleased about that. Also working to configure and deploy new time clocks. And then over the break, we did take a little time to go ahead and apply some patches to digital servers. It's routine maintenance stuff, but those things can really address new vulnerabilities as they're discovered. So just want to take that opportunity of downtime to go ahead and completely catch those up. Looking ahead, scheduling the employee migration from Microsoft to Google. Again, another initiative that we're very excited about. Looking to do that over the summer. But again, as part of that, having everyone's stuff moved over automatically back in the background for them. So it's nothing they have to worry about. They log in, their email's there. The folder structure, everything is waiting for them. And then lastly, I'm looking at options, and I say review options here because it's just an area that I personally never ventured into, but if you've been to the new school, try to use your cell phone. You likely understand what I mean. Out there, the signal I think is already weak when you get in the building due to the construction materials. It's just a situation that we have to look at and see if it's something that needs to be addressed in terms of bringing in a system that could redistribute your signal that's in the air, but throughout the building so that it's reliable cell service.
And that's caused basically by the fact that you have a cement roof. And then not to mention all the steel from the auditorium to the gym side, and that's where it seems to be the worst. But you cannot, it is very, very difficult to get a cell signal inside that school. Oh, yes.
Is that going to be a security issue?
Well, that's what we're doing now, is working on a way around that, and we feel like we've got a pretty good handle. It is just one of those things that
Please provide an internet connectivity out there.
you have internet through, as far as Wi-Fi throughout the entire building. The difference is if you were wanting to make a call standing right outside the gym, it's going to be very, very difficult.
Wow. That's interesting. I did have one question. You may have discussed this earlier, I don't know. Have we deployed the mobile Wi-Fi devices in the public that we talked about several months ago?
So I had to, that's a good question, and I do have it up there for y'all. I had to send back the T-Mobile units. We had received some information that the T-Mobile services were going to be available. It never materialized. I asked to send them back. The Georgia Student Connect program has accommodated that. Those are back to them now, and we now have AT&T units that they provided, which are going
So we'll be deploying them
yes,
soon?
ma'am, very soon, and I'll keep you all posted on that. I can bring an update to the next meeting on that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Mr. Webb, curriculum instruction.
Have a little bit of report. I usually like to do the school reports first. So I'll go over that real quick. All that's there for you. Those are the reports I received from my team from each school. I'm just going to hit the highlights. Steam night at the primary school is April the 28th, and breakfast buddies is April the 29th. I know you remember Donuts for Mom, Muppets for Mom, Donuts for Dad. Well, we combined that, we're gonna do it all at one time, just have everybody come and have that on Friday, April 29th. They're already working on next year's curriculum and looking hopefully backwards planning, because we kind of started the initiative about 4 weeks ago after I met with all the PLC teams and looked at where they are. So they're looking at the basically the state standards, the state rubrics, and the guidance documents that are associated with all the standards, and developing a plan to make sure that we're actually shooting at the target all the time as we're providing instruction to our students. BHE, they're giving the students more opportunities to collaborate in class, which is something that I've been talking about all year, and we're still working on. And the same issues when I'm talking to administrators, to instructional coaches, RTI specialists, teachers. Student engagement since COVID has really been a struggle. And I see some improvement as I'm doing observations out in schools, so we are making progress on that. And I hope to continue to make progress on that, because our young people, they don't want to be on the sidelines watching, they want to be participants in what they're doing. And to be honest with you, I don't watch sports, but if you want to play around, I will get out there and play. So I don't want to watch either. They're working on incorporating more real-life connections, and they're planning enrichment units to look at for next year as far as accelerating students and enriching students. And like I said, they're working on their pacing guides and curriculum for next year, trying to get that better aligned. And we also, while I'm talking about that, I think we're not quite set on the date exact, but I'm thinking the first day of post-planning, we are planning curriculum alignment activities in ELA and math. So we've got a lot going on, and I've talked to you about math. We've got a lot of things to talk about, and what we're going to do in math, prepare for the new curriculum that's going to be in place the year after next. Ben Hill Middle School, they've had their final Fun Friday for all their students who passed their classes with no missing assignments and no discipline issues. Their chorus concert is coming up May the 3rd, band concert May the 5th. At the Grand, those are happening at the Grand Theater, which is always fun. I love going to see those. Reward day for students who meet expected math growth that is happening on May the 13th, and their honors night is May the 17th at Wiregrass. The high school, they're really focused on student engagement. I actually had a conversation with Dr. Sims today, and he was really focused in on improving student engagement in the classes. I've been asked to go out and provide some professional development along those lines, trying to create more collaboration in the classroom and more activities for their students. Their senior signing day is April the 28th, and I think that's already been mentioned, and they begin their milestones assessment on May the 2nd. Now, under professional development, we're kind of winding down the PO portion because we have testing and all kinds of celebration activities, and a lot of activities starting to really gear up for next year, because when we're winding down one year, we definitely have to be planning for the next, because our summers are short and it will be here. When I read this report, I put up coming TV, but all this has been completed because today is the 12th. I provided reciprocal teaching for math teachers at the middle school, writing fluency and instructional practices for primary school on March the 10th and April the 7th, reciprocal teaching for math teachers. That would have been elementary school. That's a typo. And I had a really interesting email come to me and not from administration, not from my team, but from teachers at the high school, and they wanted me to come because I had provided professional development on reciprocal teaching in the math classroom, and they were all going to try it on the same day. And I thought, okay, well, y'all got a lot of guts, but let's go for it, because learning how to do something new in the classroom, it doesn't always go really great the first time. There's a lot of learning on the part of the teacher and the students because they have to learn the process. But I did go and look in all the classrooms, and I can tell you that the students did a great job. I was impressed with what the students were doing, how they were following the process, the collaboration that was going on. And in math, we have arguments, and literally they were arguments in groups about how to proceed with a problem, which is really a good thing in math. We don't talk about arguments in a positive way, but in mathematics, arguments are a good thing because that's how we see the truth. So they're doing a really great job, and the kids, it definitely has improved participation in class, and students are more engaged when they're having conversations about what they're learning. And of course, I have been pushing writing since day one. And I think in a meeting that we had here with the learning team before we met with y'all, it was mentioned that the schools who are focused on writing their scores had improved, and everybody turned around and looked at me like, okay, maybe you're not the evil Lord or something. But it is true that writing does improve reading comprehension and give students a better opportunity to express what they actually know. Because most of what I do is in writing every day, and I'm sure most of us are like that, and so our students need to write. And we are seeing more writing in the schools. I'm really proud of our teachers and students. They've been doing a really, really good job. I've walked down the halls at the schools and looking at the writing and reading the writing. And it takes a while in kindergarten when you start reading the papers, just because they're spelling like it sounds to them.
That's right.
But after a few months of doing that as a principal of the school, pretty soon you can walk down the hall and you can read everything. It's just amazing how we learn.
I saw that in the newspaper. That's cool.
In the newspaper, because we celebrate a lot of what our students do, and some of our students are impressive writers, and I think it shows. And I think and what I'm told by my instructional coaches and RTI specialists, because I'm asking them to get samples of student work that are publishable, and they're having a really tough time because there's so much of it. So that's really good to hear. And I'm hoping tomorrow, I'm not 100% sure that it's going to get published, but I do have, and I attached the articles in my report of the writing that's already been published in the paper, but I'm hoping tomorrow, if not tomorrow, next Wednesday, we should have published in the paper pre-cap. And I have 9 writers who are very proud of their writing, and some of them are when you have a pre-K student, and some of them, it's a little difficult for most people to read it because they are spelling like it sounds to them. But when you have a pre-K student in pre-K who writes 2 complete sentences that are legible and can be read by anyone and illustrated. Our kindergarten teachers, we're going to have to find out what we're going to teach this guy. He can already write. So we do have our job cut out for us. I'm very proud of what our teachers and our administrators and my team has accomplished this year in writing. And if you see any of these young people that have been published, congratulate them, because it means something that your work is good enough to be published.
Yes. How do you get the older kids to not write like they text?
That is a tribute to their teachers. And there's a lot of work going on to try to improve the mechanical part of writing. And I don't know if Mr. Heitzman has let you know, but his teachers come to him. Would you like to speak to that, how you move the teacher? Because I mean, you want to speak. You want to move the teacher in 6th grade?
Yes, I would love to. So my English teachers expressed a concern about the fact that middle school kids don't know grammar very well. And so we've taken one of our English teachers, a really dynamic 8th grade teacher, and she's going to 6th grade next year, and she's going to teach the foundations of writing to all of our kids. And I think about it, when I was in school, I had to take grammar. But we're not going to call it grammar, we're going to call it foundations of writing. We're going to make sure that they know how to legibly write, so do a little penmanship, but also work on grammar, sentence structure, and everything that kids need to be successful, because clearly it's a very important skill, and the phones haven't helped us.
And Mr. Cox, I have been assured that they will be taught how to sign that.
You just in my brain because I was going to ask him, are we going to teach our kids how to sign?
Did I say that out loud?
You was in there because I was just going to ask that question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb.
Thanks, sir.
Ms. Webb, I truly have enjoyed reading the children's stories in the newspaper. I think that was a stroke of genius to publish them in our newspaper. It's just great.
It's their story.
All right.
Last month, we had some information presented to us on special ed, and I asked Ms. Kimberly at the end of the meeting if she would come back and share numbers with us, not by school, for disclosure reasons, that kind of thing. But I wanted us, it's been a while since we've done this, I wanted us to understand the special needs of our kids, but also the special needs of our teachers that are teaching these kids.
That is correct.
And you were really prepared to do this last night.
I was here and I just here was working on the Medicaid audit, and I was just waiting for y'all to call. But Mr. Wine said last night, and I just want to share this, that I was double paid for yesterday. So,
Forget that.
on the accounts payable thing, double paid. Bill him, because he said he would.
Hey, I'll take
Very
it.
supportive of me last night. So, anyway, yes, thank you for allowing me to come back. Years ago, we were able to break things down, but because of confidentiality, getting stricter, and because of the prevalence of more severe disabilities and more unique types of disabilities, it's becoming easier to be able to identify them whenever you start drilling down into school numbers. So what I did was I took system totals and then I combined like disabilities together so that you would not maybe able to be able to pick out who the autistic kids were maybe at the elementary school, or who the speech folks were at the primary school, or what have you. So what we have here are the system-wide totals. Our speech language impairment is 37. I want to tell you, do not let that number fool you. We have speech language pathologists in every school. We need 2 more because we do not have enough, because there are over 200 more students who have a speech language impairments as their secondary disability. And every speech teacher on our payroll right now is booked. I mean, they're at their legal limit for taking students in speech. So anyway, so that number is kind of very deceitful, kind of 37, because you're not taking into account the students who have the secondary disability of speech. And any of these students can have a secondary disability. You could have a student with a hearing impairment who also has a learning disability as well. In the area of autism, traumatic brain injury, hearing impairment, and deaf, we have 28 students system-wide that have that diagnosis. Traumatic brain injury is any time a student has some kind of trauma to their brain. It can happen when they're born. It can happen from any type of accident. They can jump on the trampoline, fall off, and bust their head and have some brain damage. Like it can be an ATV accident. It could be any type of thing, an auto accident. We've had those situations where they could be traumatic brain injury. Hearing impaired and deaf are 2 different things. Deaf means that you are completely and totally deaf. Hearing impairment means you have some sort of hearing threshold that breaks the eligibility criteria for hearing impairment. Significant developmental delay, these are our students who are our babies. We get them at 3, and we can keep STD students in STD until they're 9 years old. At 9, we have to go back and reevaluate them to determine whether they have now a disability like mild, moderate, severe, profound, SLD, EBD, OHI, or any of those. But they can stay in that until from 3 to age 9. But we get those starting at 3 from Babies Can't Wait.
How many of those children do you have?
We have 50 some odd students in the pre-K. I think it's 50. I think it's 50 right now. It's hard to tell because sometimes you have your numbers, pre-K and primary are logged under the same facility number.
Okay.
So, and I have not checked that exact, I did not check that exact number. But our numbers are growing. She's going to add another class for next year, and I'm certain we can fill that class up. We've got calls from Babies Can't Wait today for children that are ready to be put in school. And we take them anytime they turn 3. The day they turn 3, they are ours. It's not the school year after they turn 3. If they turn 3 on April the 1st, we take them. They become ours. So it's really difficult sometimes to prepare for those numbers. Babies Can't Wait gives us an idea of what we have coming up, but then we can get anything from the health department, we can get anything from the doctor's offices, we can get anything from any hospital, DFACs, anything. So our numbers just fluctuate all year long and they grow. So you may start out with 30 students in STD at the pre-K and you may end up with 60. So you have to prepare teacher-wise for that growth. I lumped together mild, moderate, severe, and profound into intellectual disabilities. We have 36 of those. That number has gone down in the past years because the numbers of when the learning disability criteria changed. It changed a little bit. They're also talked about disproportionality. Students, we were disproportionate. Lots of districts were disproportionate in this area. So people were having to go to workshops, do disproportionality plans. So those numbers dropped. And then when this learning disability criteria changed, some kids were able and be encompassed in that number as well. So you got your 36, and that goes from 70 IQs all the way down below 25. And you're more profound. EBD and OHI, put those two together. Sometimes they go hand in hand with the different types of impairments that both of those disorders or those disabilities can encompass. We have 80 of those. OHI are your medical students, anything medical, severe ADHD, not just ADD or ADHD, but something severe that significantly impacts the ability to learn. It could be you might have a student who's diabetic. They may not need to be under health impairment, but their diabetes may be so severe that they have to be, because they may have to be absent from school and they have to be on insulin and have to leave and need those nursing services. So that's a call that the eligibility team makes as to whether or not they go on the OHI or whatever. And the doctor's order gives us information about their alertness, vitality, strength, how they can function throughout the school day, what the prognosis will be. Specific learning disability is 86, and like I said, we've grown in that area since the change of criteria. But the total as of our FTE count was 369. That fluctuates, give or take 5 to 10 all the time with people moving in, moving out. And then we actually have a lot of kids who are now being tested at this point in time, and we'll add to that. But we'll also probably take some out with those who are being reevaluated.
Testing and assessments happen every 3 years?
They can happen every 3 years. You can reassess, you reevaluate, or the parents can waive reevaluation if the child is progressing along and they're okay with that, and they're not, or they're not progressing along enough, then the parents can waive redetermination and continue to have their student eligible for special education.
Did you explain EBD? I'm sorry, I might have missed it.
Emotional behavioral disorder.
How
That's
many of
students-
those, you said 80 OHIs?
That was other health impairment, that was your medical.
Yeah,
More
so it's
your medical.
80 of them by themselves?
No, ma'am,
Oh.
there's 80 OHI and EBD.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
If you combine the two disabilities,
Got it.
they're together. And EBD are those students who have emotional issues that, for some reason, is causing them to act out, to misbehave. There's just an emotional basis behind what they've had. They've had some trauma in their life, like the death of a loved one, or they've been abused as a child, or what have you. There's some sort of emotional criteria there, and it's goes on frequency, duration, and longevity on that.
These numbers considered low or high?
Pretty much average for our our size school district. You try to stay around about 10%. I think we're rocking around 12%. But we actually have gone. We've been in the 400s before,
Yeah.
so we are lower than what we have been.
I was gonna
In
say,
the
I remember
past.
in the 90s, we had 438
And I
kids. or so.
attribute that to, when the state put in the pyramid of interventions, our tiers of intervention, that really, really, kept a lot of kids. When you go through that tier, those tiers of interventions, and you're putting in those, really good practices and procedures with students and your progress monitoring, then, and you're keeping good data, you can tell whether, it goes beyond just SST. You can tell whether that child is progressing. And if they're progressing along the spectrum of what you're doing in those interventions, then they may not need to go to special education to referral for that yet. They can, stay in those tiers longer and be successful, and we can still give them that same service without having to move to special education to do it.
Speaking of disproportionality, what have we done to stop misidentifying students as special needs, and how soon can we catch that?
We are no longer, we were disproportionate several years ago. We, for the last 2 years, have not been, not even close, thank goodness. But we put in a rock solid RTI plan, and it included the tiers of intervention. We went through all of the workshops with, solution tree. We built that plan. Those RTI folks are in the schools. They're running those interventions, and they're working. They're working.
Disproportionate school system before I came in the door, disproportionate for a very long time. And then when we restructured and looked at how we were doing our practices, we were able to solve that disproportionality and have not been disproportionate since.
And we solved it in a year. When we really got to working on it, that was the one thing that the first conversation I had with Dr. Harrelson was, you're disproportionate. So, help me. But he said, I'm gonna help you fix that. And it was a great plan, and we worked that plan, and we had some folks that really got in there and rolled their sleeves up, and they're working hard in the school.
Now, this grant that we got to help us deal with dyslexia, that's also going to keep us from misidentifying
Yes,
children.
I'm so excited, so very excited, because for the longest time, you didn't call it dyslexia in the school system.
Right.
You called it auditory processing or visual processing or whatever. But this grant will help us to be able to identify very early on the characteristics of dyslexia, what is leading to dyslexia. And we can get our training through Orton Gillingham, which is the premier trainers for identifying dyslexia. And we'll be able to get some interventions in place as early as primary and pre-K.
Excellent.
Yes, so I'm very excited.
One more question, make sure I understood what you said. You said we have a speech therapist at each school.
We have.
However, we need more.
We need two. Yes, we do. We have two speech therapists at the primary, and they are rolling at top speed. We have Samantha Bill, who is at the, I kind of probably misspoke on that. They do go to each school. She's at the primary, she's at the elementary because the numbers are smaller, middle and high. So when you get up that high, your speech disorders and things tend to, you're able to communicate what your wants and needs are. She's there. We also have two at the pre-K, and right now two at the pre-K is not enough. And then Sam needs help with the other school, with the other two schools that she's doing, so, and we've,
The other thing that Wanda's pointing out is that all these things that was put in place, but what a major key to all of this for success for boys and girls is getting them in our program at an earlier age. Because then we can identify anything that would be starting to be challenges for boys and girls and start that process. So now that we have them coming in at 3, we have them again the next year in there and then roll right into kindergarten. So we have a longer period of time, because what happens is that just like anything else that you diagnose with young kids, age and maturity. And you have to identify that there could be, but you have to let that also be part of the process. And by putting those things in place, it is helping us help boys and girls be more successful.
and a very exciting thing too, you'll remember that the pre-Ks put in the, regular preschool class, 3-year-old. That has helped us tremendously to be able to go in, have our students with disabilities to go into those classrooms, because before, our 3-year-olds really didn't have a place to go unless it was at a private daycare or somewhere like that. And this gives us an opportunity to have them to be able to do this, eat lunch with them, have social time with them, and just communicate with them on their level. It's really awesome that we've got those things in place.
On the business side of it, how many speech therapists do we earn through our QBE? I know we need 2 more, and I was just wondering where could we get the money to get 2 more?
Basically, it's based off the services that are rendered. And as people qualify, then we provide the services for those qualifications that they are specific to nature to that boy or girl that
Right,
needs
you earn
that.
your money through, in QBE through like fund numbers, like 2041 would be, for speech therapy, but it's also for SLD, it's
Right.
also for OHI. So it's kind of, you know, in that as well, so.
Do we have the ability to bill Medicaid for
We do.
any of those services?
We do,
Do
that's
we
why,
have an
that's
outside
why I was gonna tell
consultant?
you why this didn't end up there, because I've been working on a Medicaid audit. Do you know anything about that? You help me, get out of that one, because yeah, that's what I've been doing. That's why I did not end up on the PowerPoint, and I do apologize for that. I normally send it in early enough, but I've been up to here with
I understand. Gotcha.
Any more questions?
What about the visually challenged or visually?
We have about 2 students, and we do have a vision impaired teacher. It's very rare, everybody wants to, I say rent her out. Everybody wants to contract with her, but she's also our compliance coordinator. But she does do some things in Ocilla for us, and she will go into Wilcox County, because there is just a huge need that nobody can fill that. But we were lucky a long time ago that Dee Wessel was able to go and get her vision impaired certification. So, any more questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kimmy, very much.
Okay, moving to new business. First of all, we had the summary of purchases over $10,000.
Yes, sir.
That's some instructional items and technology. Just for your information. Any questions? Okay. Next item is request approval for Nalzone.
Nalzone.
This is terrible.
Yes, sir. It has come to my desk from our nurses that there is a need for safety concerns to have the availability to have this new product available to our nurses in case of an emergency service that would be needed for anybody that entered into our school system.
It's very different from an EpiPen when somebody's allergic to peanuts or something.
It's completely different.
Completely different.
Just like having an AED machine, it's a life-saving tool.
So we just blessing this, or we need to give our approval on something?
But you need to have approval.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve naloxone for the middle school and the high school
Mr.
clinics.
Chairman, I move to approve that.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
so I know this is available at pharmacy, but what type of controls would be in place, I guess, at the schools, and how many, what quantity are we talking about?
Basically, it would be distributed from the health department in the quantity of what we would be allowed to house, and it comes in what I know of from police work, it comes in an actual vial, and it'll be in a lock, just like everything else, based off of the security level of what we're dealing with.
What accountability will they be on that? I mean, I know we all love our nurses, but what will be that accountability?
The accountability is the same thing as the AED machine. It's basically, you have a due responsibility to respond in a school system that if somebody is in.
I wasn't talking about that, I was talking about.
But it's not a controlled substance
Okay.
in that way.
Okay.
No.
No, it's not a controlled substance, it's not anything.
It's not a schedule
life-saving.
3 years.
And so I understand that Department of Public Health has made it where you can get it without even a prescription from the doctor now. Because people need to have it with them in case of an emergency, so
Correct.
I think that's all.
No issues with?
No issues with that
prescribing
liability part of it.
Okay.
No, sir. But as far as security wise, it will be definitely locked up as everything else.
Any other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. All right, next item of business, I'll entertain a motion to approve the state-funded bonuses for employee appreciation and retention, and to follow state protocols as they apply to said funds, and to extend those same amounts and protocols to all other Ben Hill County school employees using local funds. The state has allocated $783,262 for 382 of our staff, and we will be allocating roughly $190,000 in local funds to include our other 95 full-time and part-time employees.
That's correct.
So that does include our bus drivers,
Yes, ma'am.
cafeteria workers? Okay.
And then each employee will pay their own FICA and Medicare. Is there a motion?
In a
Mr.
second.
Jeremy and Ms. Shirley.
Any discussion?
190,000?
Yes, sir.
Where's that coming from?
The 95 times $2,000 is $190,000.
No, he said
No,
where it's
no,
coming
where
from.
it's coming from.
Oh, yeah, CARES or.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were asking me where the 190 came from.
Where's the money coming from?
Oh, no, it's coming from our general fund, based off of that.
Thanks.
And
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
But we got 6.5 in fund balance, so we should be okay, right?
We got math, you got math.
We calculate it all out, we'll be perfectly fine to make it fair and equal, and that way, right now, everybody has received a $3,000 stipend across the board this year from the board and the superintendent.
And you certainly earned it. That and more. So, excellent.
Okay. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. All right. First of discussion, I'll entertain a motion that we approve, recommended the loan and contract service to Williamson Lawn Service in the amount of $43,200 per year, and this will be the first year of a 3-year cycle. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion second. Any discussion?
And this is for Williamson lawn maintenance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Does this new contract include whatever property that's gonna need maintaining at our new Fitzgerald High School College and Career
It
Academy?
does not, no ma'am. No, ma'am.
So that's everything else but,
Yes, ma'am, including the old school for right now.
oh,
Yes, ma'am.
oh, okay. So if we need to make a change in year 2 or 3, we just would revisit this? but
That's
with the
correct.
same. You're saying it's the first year of a 3-year contract, but we'll revisit it with the same vendor?
That's right, but when we get down here to item G, then I'll explain to you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Entertain a motion to approve the pest control contract to Astro Pest Control Services in the amount of $22,400. And again, this is first year of a 3-year cycle.
23.
23.
What did I say, 22?
Yes, sir.
23, excuse me. 23,400. Is there a motion?
23.
All right, I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, any discussion?
Why don't we go with Adams?
Because what happened is that they did not have as much liability coverage. There's a $5,000 difference that Astro carries a higher liability coverage.
On Astro, that first thing, proof of workman's comp and liability, that's a check, not an X, right?
That's correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
So Astra carries a $5,000 more
They carry a higher liability clause.
than Adams.
Yes.
And we'll be paying for that extra $5,000.
Now, Astro has been our vendor for several years. You
As
have
long
any
as I've been
complaints?
here, yes,
No
ma'am.
bugs crawling around?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Likewise, I presume we'll have to look at this when we get into the new school also.
That's correct.
Because that's not included in this bid.
At this point in time, there's going to be different structures that will be added on as we move forward.
But we'll also be maintaining our old school by.
That's
pest
correct.
control.
Yes, sir.
We don't need to let it go down.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor of the contract going to Astro signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained?
Opposed?
Opposed.
All right, it's 4-3 in favor.
Who's Mr. Kenneth and Jeremy?
And one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Entertain a motion to approve the 2022-2023 Ben Hill Preschool Parent Student Handbook.
Motion.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion?
Interesting reading on the parent dress code.
That's basically why we don't have the other ones on here, because we're having to put in everything new from the new high school plus other things that are
So
coming
we
down the
still-
road.
Will we still just have one handbook?
Yes,
For the other schools, and this is just separate for the?
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
All right, thank you. Have that ready, okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Our next item of business is a little information, plus we need to vote on something, and that is our District 13 meeting. That is April 20, and that is virtual. In addition, need to inform you that James Lanier from Dublin, who is our representative now on the GSBA board for our area, is not seeking re-election, and our own Teresa Davis has put herself forward to seek that position, and we appreciate your efforts to do that. You served 8 years ago, 12 years ago, for a 4-year term? Before James?
Yeah, before.
Yeah.
8 years ago.
And Teresa has created the paperwork to do that. And I will put forth a motion that this board support her in those efforts, which will include her traveling to Atlanta for board meetings when necessary, doing some virtual, I'm sure, and that kind of stuff, but then working hard to keep everybody in our district informed. And so I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Second?
Any discussion?
She did a fabulous job whenever she was our district director before, and I know that she will do a good job representing not only Ben Hill County, but the other 10 counties. And I guess the only other thing is how important it is, if we're going to support her, is to make sure that we are online whenever that vote takes place, because our disadvantage for us is that Dublin has 2 schools, East Lawrence and Dublin County. Is it?
So you have West Lawrence and East Lawrence.
That's what it is. And so their board can outvote us, but
Does Mr. James, he's with Dublin City.
Right.
So you just have one board in Dublin City, one school, as far as one high school, but the county has 2 high schools. So
They have a board.
They have a
Two
board.
boards in
Right.
Lawrence County.
So is it both the county and?
every time we've ever lost, it's been because of Dublin.
Gotcha. I got you.
They beat me, and then they later on, but it's because all our board didn't show up to. So I'm just
Okay.
asking that if we're gonna support, let's support with our vote as well.
Thank you for making, I was gonna make.
Definitely send a
We need
reminder.
to be online and.
Yes.
The deadline is the 15th. You have to register too. You can't just show up that day, you have to register to attend.
Right, you have to register, and there's a link that everybody got this email, and you have to go on the link thing and register yourself to be able to participate in the 20th, on April the 20th at 11 o'clock, the Zoom.
Would you be kind enough to send it back out again tomorrow?
And I got it attached on the agenda.
Thank you.
Attached.
We'll send that back out to you.
Okay.
All those in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
We have a request also, we need to ratify the prior action where we purchased a John Deere tractor and equipment. There were some questions about the warranty. We got those taken care of and put in writing. So we're ratifying the vote of approving a John Deere tractor in the amount of $176,667.46. And that'll be paid out of CARES funds and local funds, 141, 333.96, and 233, or 333.50 out of local funds. And it is green, is that correct?
That's correct. There are actually multiple tractors on here and multiple pieces of equipment, so that this will be directly correlated with our college and career, and placing our kids in the training of operating these machines and taking care of our grounds at the new school, and they will be paid for those services. So it,
And taking care of the equipment.
and taking care of and maintaining the equipment. Yes, sir.
Is there a motion? So this is ratification of our motion that was taken.
Motion.
Second.
Wait a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. All right, here is the out-of-state trip that we have. This is for the Robotics Championship, and this is approval of a trip to Dallas, Texas, May the 4th through May the 8th. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
A motion second, you have listed the names of those people that will be attending.
Yes, sir.
All right, any discussion?
Yeah, so you have, accommodations for hotel, plane, rental, but I would say, as far as the food food costs, who handles that?
He asked about food costs, Dr. Sims. Food cost,
Meals?
That's the one thing that TSL and the command themselves, so I'm sorry. So we're covering, between the governance team and, Ms. Henderson, CTA, the 6200 you see up there. Mr. Garland has urged that his kids have some, meat in it, if you will. And wants them to be responsible, of course, they fundraise through the year through DSA, so they'll be handling the meals through that, but we'll pay for the rest.
Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Next order of business, we have the lease on the farmland at the new high school.
Yes, sir.
And it's not attached, so
I got it.
you'll need to speak to that.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. You want to take a look at it?
When I send an email, everybody should have that.
Yes. Here's another copy.
Send an email.
Pass it.
This is the 31 acres.
Yes, ma'am.
That was an
This is the
email.
one that I attached to the email.
Okay, thank you.
So basically what we have is the opportunity that, I did not want to see the land sit dormant if we could help it and involve it with our college and career academy. So, I asked Mr. Harry Tucker to reach out to the previous, lease farmer that, we had prior to purchasing the land to see if he wanted to lease it again. He came back with an offer. I'm putting this to the board to let you know that it's getting mighty late and his crop would be peanuts based off the fact of what he's discussed that he would put in. The difference is if we make decisions, the community, the board make decisions that they want more facilities like a stadium and things like that, this could not be a lease that would follow through because we would be using some of the land that would be inside the lease. But that is projected to be a little bit down the road. So I just put it before the board based on the fact that I thought it was a good idea that we could involve our kids to work in that process and then have a little bit of revenue that would be generated from it.
This lease is for one planting season.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
The planting season should be over by, October.
Absolutely.
I thought it was a 5 year. I thought it was 5 years.
At this time, it's written in there as 5 years, but I told him it would only be right now possibly just the one based off of that. Because if we build, we have to cancel the lease. I mean, if we build our facilities, we won't be able to have that property in a lease.
So right now, if he takes the property, go ahead and start his plan. Okay, we decide, okay, we want to go ahead and build. What liabilities do we face? I guess if we've got to alter his crops or, cancel his crops to progress with our building. I mean, what?
I guess, Tony, I'm asking, what's our walkaway?
Yeah.
Do we have it in this contract?
Walkaway is a 30 days notice of termination of the lease.
And we can do that?
You do it.
Even with the crops in?
Now,
Ms. Sawyer?
I didn't communicate with Mr. Dorman, but, on Thursday, I sent a draft lease back in February, so on Thursday, I received information that Mr. Dorman had reviewed the lease, he had certain changes, which we made, and apparently, that's the information I received. So, there were no changes as it related to termination of the lease.
So why did they change to the 5 to 1 year?
Sir?
What did
It's
the
a
change from
30-day
5
notice
to
to
1?
let him know that we can cancel the lease.
I'm addressing the termination. So there were no changes that I was told Mr. Dorman had as it related to the termination of the lease.
Okay.
I said if it was for one growing season, so we're not gonna build anything between now and October.
Well, that's
Out
true.
there next year, the lease can be reviewed.
When you say peanuts,
on board at
about,
that time and
about allergies.
Yeah, what's gonna happen when everybody's gonna start sneezing inside the new school?
I mean, just don't bring that up.
Again, It's a recommendation. If you'd like to do it, you can do it. If you don't have to. I just put it on the table based off the fact of having an unoccupied space, and we could have earned revenue based off of it.
It's just something the board is gonna have to put on the calendar for next year to.
We'll be able to do it
decide on.
next year?
Yeah,
Okay, so
it just takes 30-day notice to.
now, I don't own farmland, barely own the little land my house sit on, but is $70, is that a good deal? $70 an acre?
At this time, that's what he was paying prior to this, and that's what we agreed upon. Again, y'all,
Did we pay $10,000?
We bought it.
Okay.
There's a difference. It's ours now.
Okay.
If we did agree that, how would he access that?
he has an access right of way that was written into the property.
To the side of it, it would be on our drive and all that.
That's correct.
Yeah, I never thought about, I'm not a farmer, but the peanut thing, I guess, if that's what he's planning, is that possible, I guess, to have that, I guess, be an issue?
Y'all, again, I'm not a doctor, but you can walk outside and have an allergic reaction to a flower that's going across the way, for goodness sake. I don't know. Let's go ahead and take a vote.
People that are allergic to peanuts is when they eat them, not.
Somebody make comments, I don't know,
Just one other question. Did I understand you to say that he was previously using that land for farming?
That's correct,
Okay,
yes,
see, I
ma'am.
didn't realize that. Okay. So 1 year.
One
year review.
this year it would be, and I saw the error, this year it would be, if you vote on it tonight, April 13th to December 31st, and then it will automatically renew on January 1 for 5 renewal periods, and then you would have to address it again if you wanted to continue the contract.
We would have to address it annually.
If you don't vote to terminate it, it will automatically renew.
Gotcha.
For 5 one-year renewals after December 31st for this year. And then at the end of that 5th renewal period, you would have to enter into a new contract if the board so decides.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay.
Opposed.
Opposed? 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 Four.
Opposed.
Opposed?
Abstain. That's something enough about it.
Your vote?
Yes.
We got a 3-3 and 1 abstain, so it fails. Okay.
It gives you the opportunity to come back to us. Did you make a
Juan,
recommendation?
Jeremy, and Teresa. Shirley abstained. And Kenneth and me and Martha voted yes, so it's a 3-3, 1 abstained, so it did not pass. Okay. Upcoming events. We've got the first one taken care of on the GSBA nomination. We do have April 26th. This is not on here, but it's top 10 banquet at Wiregrass at 6:30. It's a Rotary sponsored event to recognize our top 10 students.
26.
20.
That's on the
28. Thank you. It's on a Thursday night, 6:30 at Wiregrass.
6:30.
6:30.
26.
Top 10.
Is it the 26th or the 28th?
26.
Okay, I'm
26th.
right.
Thursday night. No, Tuesday night, 26th.
Okay. Yes.
Tuesday night, 26th. regular monthly meeting is May the 10th. Ceremonies, May the 10th. Honors night, May the 12th. Graduation, the 20th.
Gary, retirement reception will be at 5 o'clock
On the
at the
10th.
May meeting.
Take note of those. And then our summer conference. You have disclosure forms, reports due July 1st. All right, moving into personnel and executive session. We do have a matter of litigation that we need to discuss. So I'll make a motion after a brief recess that we go into executive session for personnel and legal issues. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. All right, we'll stand in recess just a minute.